Hey guys, Scrubber Vacuum Collector and Fixer here, and I am doing an Electrolux video. This Electrolux video is just going to be me showing off my working Electroluxes from oldest to newest. I'm just going to basically show a basic idea of how Electrolux has evolved over the years and became the Aerus that we know and love today. So we're going to kick it off with the Electrolux Model 30, which is their most popular model ever made. Like, this is a very iconic vacuum cleaner in America. This is probably one of the first things that people think of when you think of a vintage vacuum. No joke. It's very iconic, especially with that logo. This was produced from 1937 to 1954. And it had a long run. There was just like a lot of vacuum cleaner companies, they were not made during World War II, but they continued production in 1945. This one in particular is a 49 model, so it is a post-war, but it's got the very common look to it. Looks like just like any other Model 30 you'd find. The really late ones, before they were discontinued, had a blue pattern, kind of like the Model 60 over there. But yeah, this is a 49 model, and it has a shakeout bag, which is kind of dirty. I'm gonna have to clean that out soon. You put it on there a certain way, and now I did it right. Okay, so yeah, it's there's the logo on the other side, and you can carry it like this. It's got the back here for the blower, and there's the switch, and then now these cord. This is not a proper cord for it, but it works. It's a electric skillet cord, because the end is the same. I'm not going to pull it out, because pulling it out and pushing it back in actually is what causes the end to wear down more, so I'm just going to leave it in there. It's just basically two round prongs, and you just push it in, and that's how it is. So this is just the type of cord I have on it. What I end up doing is I just take a longer, usually a vintage Kirby cord like that one, and I plug it into this, and then that's how I use this thing. And then, as you can see, it's got the sleds, skids, whatever you want to call them. I usually call them skids, but yeah, these are, I don't know, they make the vacuum look like a sled. It also looks like a train. Anyway, so I'm gonna get the hose that I normally use, which is this vinyl hose that I use for all of them. So I'm gonna plug this thing in, and let's show it to you guys. All right, I got the tool connected up. It's all plugged in. This is my 1205's wands and flip tool. Now the 30 had a different flip tool that was much more primitive. I'm just gonna be using this flip tool. I don't really have very many Electrolux attachments. This would have had a braided hose, like kind of like that, although different color, of course. Electrolux literally used braided hoses up until the 90s. They did not go vinyl until really late. But anyway, so without further ado, here we go. So the Model 30 is very, very quiet, and it does a pretty decent job. Hard floors, it does a decent job. On carpet, it does okay. The suction isn't too great. It's pretty low, but I mean, it's an old canister. What do you expect? The flip tool did pretty good, so let's save that for the next machine. So coming up next will be the Model 60. The Model 60. This came after the Model 30. And it was produced, I don't know exactly what the years were that it was produced, but I know that it came out in 1952, and it was produced in the early to mid 50s. I think it was produced for just a couple years, not very long. But yeah, this was the last Electrolux to have the sleds or the skids. But it was the first Electrolux. This thing had a pretty big step, and it was the vacuum that would inspire other Electroluxes after it, with engineering and stuff, because it was the first one. It's kind of to take disposable bags. It's a very unique design. The door, the hose mount, literally, it's very cool actually. But anyway, so that comes down like that, and there's a safety switch right here, which would not allow the machine to turn on without a bag. But you can see that they introduced bags with this model. This one's got a HEPA in it, because I really like these HEPA bags. There's the inside. It's very cool looking. It's like a cheese grater, but yeah, it looks neat. So yeah, this is the first machine to have that. Get this back in here. This has a lot of tension, a lot of spring. Okay, bag comes out. It ejects the bag. It was the first Electrolux to have the ejecting bag. But yeah, so that sets the sensitivity. Now, the very early ones did not have this, and there was a sensitivity issue. So they were, I don't know if they were recalled or if they were just, Electrolux had it to where you could bring in your Model 60 and they would add this free of charge. And then, of course, later ones did include it. So anyway, here's the power switch. You would roll it back and forth. Now this one is a little bit better with the cord. You press a button, open that, and it's just like a Kirby cord. The prongs are flat, they're not round, so it's easier to get a replacement cord for it. So this is just a Kirby cord, and it works. In fact, this is the cord. This cord actually came with this 60 when I was given to me by my friend Walker. So yeah, and here's the back, where air blows out. So anyway, I'm gonna connect the hose up to it, and we will get it going. Here's the logo. All right, without further ado, here we go. This machine has a noticeable power difference. It's a lot more powerful than the Model 30. You can actually put your hose on the hand and it won't let go. The Model 30, it just kind of, you can't really hold on to anything with it. But yeah, the Model 60 was a big improvement when it comes to power. And it's just a nice vacuum. Anyway, so now we're going to move on to the Model L. All right, here's the Model L. Now, this is kind of a big jump from the Model 60 because the Model 60 was reduced in the early 50s. Whereas this was the very last machine of this design. But there were a bunch of them like this. The first one being the Model E, I believe. Take that with a grain of salt. I'm still learning the Electrolux history. I know quite a bit, but I'm not fully knowledgeable about that. But yeah, I think the Model E was the first machine to have this design, and this design came out after the 60, the Model 60 design. It was the first one with the wheels, and this machine is also another machine that would inspire future Electroluxes. This came two ways. It either had just a standard cord coil, you would just wrap the cord up right there, or it had a extra thing on the back that was connected that you could open like that, and it had a cord winder. So it was the first style machine with a cord winder, and that would be the Model E had that feature. It was, and there were different versions. There were basic, and then there were more premium ones. There was the automatic lineup as well. So there was like the AE and the automatic G and all that, but this one I believe is just a standard Model L. This one is actually a very late one, being gold. It was produced, this one in particular was made in the 70s, but the L came out in the, I want to say early 60s, early to mid, I don't know, mid 60s. It came out after the Model G, which the Model G is another popular one. But yeah, this is a nice machine. It does kind of have a smell, but I mean, it's pretty old. This is where the butterfly tool would go. So you take this type of tool and it would go right there. So it's got the handle, it's got the attachment. This is the switch on and off. Trying to think. It's pretty light. It's lighter than the 60 actually, and it's about as light as the 30. Let me think what else. Here's where you would connect up the power nozzle. One of the earlier models of this design introduced the PN1 power nozzle, which was pretty small and it had no edge cleaning whatsoever, but I mean, it was good for the time. And then here's the bag. This has a standard bag in here. It's an older one, but I'll show you the chamber. There's the inside there. This is the only American Electrolux where the bag was sideways, like this type of design. They went back to, they turned it back over with the 1205. So anyway, let's get this thing running. Here we go. So that's the Model L. Yeah, it kind of, I don't know, could be better, but it runs fine. It just smells. But before I moved on to the next machine, I'll just show you what a PN1 looks like. Here's a PN1. They came in multiple colors. This is a newer PN1. I think this probably went for a Model L, as a matter of fact. It kind of works. It does work, but it's not super well. I never use it, but I have it, so. Anyway, on to the 1205. All right, now here's the Electrolux 1205. This was the first ever rectangular Electrolux made. It came out in 1968, and they were out of production by 1974 when the Golden Jubilee 1205 came out, which is, it's also a 1205, but it was their 50th anniversary edition of the 1205. It was gold, and it had a different top on it with a different handle, but it was essentially, it was the same machine. It was a 1205, just different color and a different top. The Super J is the one that introduced the bigger motor, which caused the back end of the machine to be lengthened by a ½ inch, which you don't really notice unless you actually compare them, but the power is noticeably different, and that's what I'll cover with the Silverado. Anyway, so here's the 1205. It is a nice looking machine. I really like the color. The turquoise on the white is just, oh my god, I love it. I love it very much. It's one of my favorite looking Electroluxes. Like, I like the look of this thing. It also works really well. It's just, it does have a smell, but that's just, you know, that's what it is. So it's got the sensitivity knob. You can change the sensitivity for the bag ejector. There's the light, the guide light. I just have it in medium dirt. That's how I do with these, medium. So yeah, so it's got the two back wheels, and then it's got a front wheel. This also introduced that type of wheel where it would swivel instead of it being, so it does this instead of there being four wheels, making it harder to do that, which makes it more maneuverable. This handle is nice, although I can see why they replaced it. It is a little, I don't know, I kind of get nervous picking it up with the handle. There's actually a crack right there, so I got to be careful. Yeah, a lot of these 1205s nowadays are missing the handle, or they're just really broken. So yeah, that's why with the Golden J, the handle was a lot stronger, and then eventually with the Silverado, they came out with this handle, which is really sturdy. So, but yeah, this was just the first one like this. They were still experimenting, but anyway. So you got the bumper here, which is nice. Got the blower port, which if I can, there's a blower port right there. You put the attachment here. There's your on-off switch, and then open this. Got the bag. This also has a standard bag in here. It's basically a new bag. When I got it with the machine, and there was no dirt in it, so I'll just leave it in there, and then put a HEPA bag in it after it gets full. So yeah. Oh, I forgot to show you the bag chamber. That's kind of weird. Anyway, so there's the inside of the chamber. I just like that blue, not gonna lie, it looks cool. Anyway, there's the safety switch, so it won't turn on without a bag. And this machine, when it was first introduced, the paint job was smooth and it had the PN1 still, but then they introduced this more, during the run, a more textured paint job, and then eventually they introduced the PN2 with this machine, which I like a lot better. It's still not the best, I prefer these greatly, but PN2s were an improvement over the PN1. Their edge cleaning, they still didn't really have any edge cleaning, because there was literally an inch from the brush roll to the outside of the power nozzle to the edge. So, but anyway, so this one I'm going to use the electric hose. I'm going to do just the normal flip tool, and then I'm going to get it on there. It's hard to do it in one hand. Then I'm going to do the power nozzle, since it's very easy to do so. Anyway, all right, here we go. All right, so that's the Electrolux 1205. Up next will be the Silverado Deluxe. All right, so here's the Silverado Deluxe. I forgot to mention with the 1205 clip, this one I think is a 72 or a 73 model. Someone mentioned to me, so I'm just gonna go with that. This is this Deluxe is an 83 model, because the 82 model had the PN4 still. But in 83 they introduced the PN5, and this is the original nozzle to it, power nozzle. It's got everything to it, except for a what is it? There was also this air powered floor polisher that it would have come with, but those were optional, I believe. So But this has everything. It's got the flip tool, the butterfly tool. In fact, let me go get the original flip tool to it with the wands. Let me just swap them out here. So, great. So we got this is its original flip tool with the 2 wands. And then we got the butterfly tool, the sidekick, and the power nozzle with the electric wand. And then the crevice tool, the gray one, right there. Of course, and when I got this from the very nice couple that I bought it from a couple years ago, they kept it in this shape. They kept it really nice. They took great care of this thing, and they did replace the hose at one point because this would have had a braided hose still. But it's a very good upgrade. I'm glad that this had a vinyl hose. I prefer them greatly over the woven braided ones. So this is not that much different from the 1205 externally. So you've got here's the machine with the bumper. It's got a better bumper. The top is different. The Golden J introduced the style top. The handle is definitely a lot different and better. It's got 2 separate ones. There's this handle for carrying it, and then that handle for, I guess, vertical carrying. I use both a lot. So, same spot for the butterfly tool. And then there's the blower port. And then you got actually some air vent there on both sides when you're not using the blower. And then there's the switch on off. If I turn it here, there's the dial for sensitivity, the bag light, and then go inside. I actually haven't even used the Silverado with this new bag yet. I just put this bag in here. It looks dirty, but that's because of this. This has not been used, so this will be a first time using this new bag in here. The other HEPA bag, well, it's so full. Anyway, that's how good this machine is. And there's the bag chamber. The front end of this cleaner internally is the same as the 1205, but the back end is different because it's got the larger motor. And you'll notice just by the sound, it sounds a lot different. It sounds more powerful, and it is more powerful. Anyway, let's get this going. I'm going to use its original flip tool that it came with, which is no different from the 1205 one, except the neck is plastic, but it's still pretty durable, so it's nothing to worry about. Anyway, here we go. Alright, so that's the Silverado Deluxe. And now we will have our final machine. Actually, before I get out the Guardian Platinum, I will go over this machine, although I can't use it. I'm about to tell you why. So, first of all, this is an Electrolux Renaissance from the early 90s, I want to say. I'm not very knowledgeable about this type of machine, well, in terms of years and stuff, but this was the first of this design, and they didn't, I don't know, this design didn't last super long, maybe 10 years in total. But it's a very good machine. It's just, I don't know, it's unique. It's kind of, there's some things I don't like about it. Well, first I'll just tell you about it. So it's a Renaissance. This machine actually was produced long enough that eventually the very last ones were called the Aerus, and my grandma actually has the Aerus Lux Guardian 9000, which is from around 2003, 2004, which is when they changed the name, and I gave it to her because that was mine before. That was the last one like it. But anyway, so you got your typical design. This actually has 5 wheels on it, which is kind of interesting. It's got the front one, it's got the 2 here, it's got 2 more here that swivel, which I guess when you're tilted like that, I suppose it, but I don't know. I don't see how those, maybe they help a little, I'm not sure. But then you got the hose port here. I'll go inside. This actually takes an Electrolux R bag, which none of their current machines have that bag, but yeah, so here's an R bag. It is kind of full. It's pretty full actually, but I have more bags for this, but I'm not going to bother changing it until I actually get a hose. So now, well, actually before I go into that, here's where you would store your attachments. So the only tool I have for it is the single butterfly tool without the dusting brush. It's hard to do with one hand. So this tool's kind of hefty to get out. So you would turn it, you would twist it and then open it. And it's a very good design, just like most butterfly tools are. The dusting brush would go here, which also swivels, and then there'd be a crevice tool here, which actually would extend out and get longer. So anyway, this is hard to, you have to twist it. It's very hard to do with one hand. Anyway, my grandma's has all the tools, but anyway. And there's also a, there's a filter in here that you would take this out. It's dusty because I haven't touched it in a while. So then right here we got where the Renaissance logo is, you got the blower right here. You put the hose in, and then there's the carrying handle. And then on the back you got the cord rewind, which works very well. Now, before I say anything, what do you notice about this machine? Is there anything missing? If you guessed a power switch, you are correct. This machine was designed solely to turn on with a hose. If you do not have a hose for one of these, you cannot run it whatsoever. It needs a hose to run because all the controls are on the hose end. That's the thing I don't like about these, is you have to have a hose for it, which, I mean, yeah, it's kind of useless without a hose anyway, but it is kind of dumb. I can't even run this thing at all, so it's just been sitting for a long time because I don't have a hose for it. And hoses are pricey. They go for well over $100 on eBay. I'm trying to find a cheap one that works. So I don't know, we'll just see. I have the wands and power nozzle to it. So anyway, that's just some information about that. Now for the final machine. All right, here's the Guardian Platinum, the very last machine I have here for you to see. Now, the Guardian Platinum, unlike any other machine made by Aerus, this machine was actually not made by Aerus. This was made by Lux International in Europe. This was the first Lux, as they call them over there, to be sold in the United States. The previous model to this one was the Guardian Ultra, which really was just like kind of like one of these machines, but it was plastic. It was like an LE 2100, and if you don't know what that is, go check out Tristan Blair's, which I'll leave a link in the description. So this is the Guardian Platinum, and these are very, 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 and I do not emphasize it enough, very nice machines. It's one of the best that they've ever sold. It's made in Europe, as I said. It's got a stainless steel construction. There is it is plastic with stainless steel over it, but it's a very good design. It's very well built. It's very durable, and I like the sides here. So let's just go over it like we did with the others. So it's still got that classic style design where, you know, it's a typical Electrolux design pretty much. So here's the front end. What's cool about this machine is there's actually a door that blocks off the opening, so then no dirt comes out. It's very unique. I like that a lot. So here's the, let me just stand it up. No. So we got the digital controls here. Yeah, this thing is digital. It does have digital controls on it and stuff. So there are circuit boards. So, I mean, as long as you take care of it, it should be fine. Circuit boards are kind of expensive to replace, but yeah, I've not heard too many bad things about these. So you got the different, there's 8 heights, I mean, height settings, what am I saying? 8 speeds. It looks like 4, but each one of these has 2. So it'll go from minimum all the way up. It's got a tremendous amount of power when it's on maximum. And then that's how you would increase or decrease. There's also an auto feature where it'll put it halfway by default, and then depending on what the machine thinks you need for the surface you're cleaning, it'll increase or decrease accordingly. It's also got all these things like the filter, the bag, overheating, and, you know, all the different things. It's nice. Here's the blower port. There's Guardian, Platinum, Lux since 1924. So if you open this, there's the blower port, which actually doesn't blow any air out unless you press down. That's how the air comes out. So that's nice. And then you got the cord wind button and then the power button. On this side is the cord. You pull it out. That's one thing I noticed. It's on the opposite side of most Electroluxes, but that doesn't matter. So yeah, then you just, it's very good cord winder. Here's the vents for after, you know, for the after air after it's vacuuming. And then here's these little notches, which are really nice because you can, if you look, you got on the back there, what you do is you can do this. And you could store it like that. Or if you want more compact storage, there's also one on the bottom right here. So you just slide it on there like that, and you have some vertical storage, which is really nice. Anyway, so we just got our typical, we got 2 wheels in the back here, so you could have it lifted up and it would still roll easily. And then you got the swivel wheel in the front like usual. Got some rubber bumpers there to protect your floors. And then you got a carrying handle here, kind of like on the Renaissance. This is where one of the filters is located, which I suppose I'll show you guys. Just kind of pull it out. There it is. I don't think there, you can put, I don't think there's a typical, or I don't think you can put it in a certain way. I think it just goes in either way. So I'll just keep it the way it was, and it just locks in. So then there's another carrying handle here, obviously. So then let's get into the bag. So you push this, it's kind of, okay. So you got the safety switch right here, which links up, I don't know. And then you got this, this is a style pee bag, which is pretty nice. So it's, there were earlier pee bags that were just regular, but these are actually HEPA, and I really like these. They're basically pouches, and the tab is on the side of the pouch. It's nice. You got that. Look inside, here's the bag chamber with the filter, and then try my best. It's kind of hard. So then take the filter out. There's just the bag chamber by itself. It's got a really nice filter. And then you just stick your bag back in there. So there we go. So anyway, without further ado, actually, before we get to that, here's the hose end, which is, this is basically like a TriStar end, because as, I don't know if you know, Aerus owns TriStar, aka formerly known as Compact. Back in the day, yeah, they actually share the same exact end as the TriStar, although of course the other end's different. This is just like the Lux Intelligence end, like on the Lux Intelligence and the Sauber you see over in the Europe and Australia. If you just plug it in, it's very interesting because it's got no button or anything, but you can just pull it out, but it locks in if you it's interesting because if you're pulling it out, it comes out, but when you're you're tugging the machine, it stays right in place. So, and then also got the classic flip tool. These have not changed at all. Of course, the end is different, but it's the same exact tool. I like this tool very much. So, anyway, I'll do the flip tool and then we'll do the power nozzle. It's also got onboard attachments on the wand. There's the classic butterfly tool and then the crevice tool and the Sidekick 3. All right, now let's give this thing a go. So that's minimum. Just listen how quiet that thing is. I can literally talk really quiet. You can still hear that thing. You can even hear that dehumidifier over this. It's so quiet. If I were to stand, of course the dehumidifier is running, but listen, you can't even hear it. All you can hear is this. It's insane how quiet it is, yet it's still got adequate suction. The lowest power on this machine is about the same as the Model 30's power. And then if we maybe go up about like that, that's about the Model 60's power. Then that would be the Model L's power. Then that would be the 1205. And then that would be the Silverado's power. And then here we go. We got a tremendous amount of power. It is insane how powerful this thing is. And it's just such a nice machine. I do not regret purchasing this thing. It was worth every penny. Now, I got it lightly used, and it was one heck of a deal, but it's a great machine. If you find one of these used or refurbished for a good price, oh, definitely get it. This is still the current model that they're selling. Of course, they sell door to door like Kirby for like $2,000, but you can probably find one for cheaper. There are actually a lot of great Kirby, or not, what am I saying? Aerus dealers. There's actually one that I know, which is Tom Gasco, by the way. He does great deals. So if you know him, he does great deals on these. Or there are dealers around the country that do great deals on these. In fact, there's a Ray Satterwhite. I think I'll also put a link to his channel in the description. He sells these for a very good deal. He's been doing it for years, for like 40 years plus. He does a good deal with these, so I'll put that in the description. So anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little Aerus Electrolux evolution video, so to speak. It's not every machine. There are a lot of machines in the gaps that I don't have. But this is just like a general idea, basically, of, you know, how they evolved over the time. I do have a really old Electrolux model. It's either an 11 or a 12 from the late 1920s out in my garage, but it's in rough shape, and it's got no cord. And the cord end that it would go to it is really obsolete, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to find a cord for it. But anyway, so thanks for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. Subscribe for more content, and stay tuned for more videos in the near future.